Well, good morning and welcome along, ladies and gentlemen, to Simply Race. We are live for round 3 of the Simply Race British Championship, starting off, of course, with the Alpine Cup cars, the A110s. This weekend here at Thruxton for the third round of the championship. We've got a couple of new faces and they're out on the circuit at the moment for their formation laps. As they make their way up towards the grid, let's take a look at your starting order for the first of 2 races. As you can see, Adam Christopher once again continuing on with his fantastic debut season on pole position alongside Ben Bennyworth. Guy Osborne in 3rd. John Dean Smith, first round for him, up in 4th. Then Patrick Horrocks, Steve Burton, Anthony Burton and Dan Hyde. Aaron Daly, Michael Tillett, Max Spooner and Dan McCallum on rows 5 and 6 off the grid. And at the back, Cammy Sturch and Ed Feast making his return to the Alpines, missing out in round number 2, but they'll make their way around the final couple of corners and line themselves up onto the grid. As you may have noticed, it is raining, so drivers have a little bit extra to worry about in terms of the weather. As they'll line themselves up. 14 lap race that we're going to have here today at Thruxton, and then another one very shortly afterwards. The cars at the back line themselves up. Here we go then, ready to race. And we go green for the first time, and oh, it's a little bit of wheel spin from Guy Osborne in 3rd position. He's under threat. They're 3 wide just behind them. John Dean Smith, Horrocks and Steve Burton going side by side through the first corner. And there's a little bit of an off in the background. Can't quite see who that was, but your top 3 remain the same. Here comes Guy Osborne looking to the outside of Bennyworth. As Christopher's off. Christopher off at the first braking zone. And Guy Osborne gets ahead of Ben Bennyworth, and he's up into the race lead now. Bennyworth looking to try and get back ahead. As through they go at all sorts of sideways. Osborne through the right-hander. All the drivers struggling slightly out there in the very slippy conditions. The rain has stopped for now, or has lessened compared to what it was in qualifying and practice. And it's expected to do the same for the rest of today's action. We've got the touring cars after this as well, a bit later on in the afternoon. Here they come then into the final chicane. Has proved very tricky for a lot of the drivers. There's a lot of opposite lock being put in there by Osborne. He starts to extend his advantage, about a second now. I believe there's a couple of cars potentially off the circuit. Here is Ed Feast, up into 9th position, having started in 14th in this race. And you can see just behind, really sideways as well, there's Adam Christopher struggling in these conditions. Very fast, of course, but struggling in the wet. Now looking for a move. There's Cammy Sturch on the outside. Christopher on the inside. He's going to make that move up nicely indeed. But he runs a little bit deep. But going to keep on to that 10th position. Now sets his eyes forward on Ed Feast there. And so we're on to lap 3 already. Pennyworth with a new fastest lap of the race, so looking good for him. And oh, a little bit deep, very loose. Ed Feast making contact with Adam Christopher there. Sturch gets back through. Christopher gets back through once again. He'll try again on Ed Feast. I think Feast might have got a bit loose out of the chicane and sort of come across him there. Into the braking zone of turn 3 they go. Down the inside looks Adam Christopher. That's not going to work this time. By again, really loose. Through they go, through the left-hander. Christopher's got up the outside into the braking zone. Really quick right-hander this one. He holds it around the outside very nicely. But they're still side by side. Christopher on the outside. And he gets in front up into 9th position then. Sets his eyes forward on Max Spooner. Unfortunately for him, there's a pretty large gap, 7 seconds or so, that he's got to try and make up for the remainder of this race. Let's have a look back up at the front, because Pennyworth has got a run on your race leader. Through turn 1 they go for the 4th time of asking. And Osborne a little bit wide. Keeps off the grass. Through the right-hander they go, and there's John Dean Smith in the Napa car just behind as well in P3, and off in the background it's Max Spooner. And here will come Christopher, probably Feast as well. And Feast has gone off. Big off for Feast as well. Is he going to come back onto the circuit, or will he be able to get the brakes back on? He has. So he'll be able to get that car back on. Looks like he avoided any of the walls. Plenty of runoff here at Thruxton. But a couple separate incidents there. And unfortunately, Feast down to 14th position after that one. Osborne has held on to that first place. He is now 7 tenths ahead of Pennyworth. As through the chicane will go. And the fastest lap of the race for Osborne as well. That's right on board with him. Through the first couple of corners, you can see the steering wheel going absolutely mental. Especially out of the traction zones as well. Drivers really struggling for grip out there, and you can see that. Really struggling to get the power down, but it's the same for everybody. Through the left-hander they go now. Very loose, and he just about hangs on to it. See, all over the place. That Alpine wants to go in every direction but straight. Now the commitment corner. Through the right-hander, up and over the curb. Just about holds it very nicely there. Not too much luck. And out into the final chicane, a corner that has been extremely tricky for the drivers. Very easy to go straight on, especially with the wet conditions. Up and over the curbs. Taking it nice and easy through here. And then struggling to get the power back on once again, but does so successfully. And up on board your race leader there. Let's have a look at 4th and 5th. It's the two Burtons that are currently going at it. Through turn 1 they go. I think there may have been a couple of issues, maybe slightly further back. There have. And who is involved in this? It's Aaron Daly, Patrick Horrocks, Ed Feast and Dan McCalla, all sort of on top of one another through the final chicane. Battle for 6th position heating up though as well. Dan Hyde under pressure from Christopher. 0.2 of a second is the gap between the two of them as they make their way through the middle sector. Close up there for your race lead as well. Osborne very sideways as we rejoin these two. John Dean Smith just behind as we approach half race distance here. To the final corner they'll go. A little bit further back though. Christopher still right on the back of Hyde. Looks towards the outside, a bit deep into the braking zone for the chicane. To the first corner that they will go. Let's go back up to your race leaders, and Bennyworth once again looking for that lead. Through the right-hander, he'll go. Oh, a good run here as well. He's going to get up alongside. Next corner is a left-hander. Osborne should have the advantage through there. Side by side, Osborne all sorts of loose, catches it again. Seems to be a recurring issue there and a bit of contact. But they keep it going in a straight line. And Bennyworth is up into the lead of the race. Halfway through here. Osborne wants it back though. Down the back straight they go. Looking towards the outside for the chicane, deep on the brakes. Is it going to work out for him? He's way too deep there. He's going to go off. Bennyworth is going to have a bad line through here as well. Here comes John Dean Smith. And he's going to take the race lead. But for how long? Here's Osborne. Side by side with Bennyworth they go. John Dean Smith tries to escape with it as these two continue to battle. Yellow flags in sector 3, and that's Michael Tillett. Oh, and Dan McCalla, has there been contact here? Because both of these drivers going very slowly. Dan around, knocking down the Thrustmaster boards. Driver of the purple polka dot machine. Back out in front. Oh, Guy Osborne's on the grass. Bennyworth is dropping back at a rapid rate as well. Maybe the tyres not quite agreeing with him, but at the front you can see Osborne right on the back. John Dean Smith. As into the final chicane they'll go. Gets the braking right this time, does Osborne. Sending it over the curbs, and once again, then 2% lock on the exit. Let's look a little bit further back. So you can see through the final couple of corners, Steve and Anthony Burton going at it once again. 4th and 5th positions on the circuit. Steve currently leading. See Adam Christopher just behind as well through the first corner. As all they're going to go side by side, and a big send up the inside there from Anthony Burton. Steve's going to try and hang on into the braking zone, and all this is doing is letting Adam Christopher catch right up. He's going to try and get a good line, maybe try and get both of them, as they almost make contact here. Anthony just about holding on to that fourth position for now, and Christopher going to the outside, and Anthony's off and into the wall hard as well. But we'll go back up to Steve. Adam Christopher had a bit of a moment as well whilst we were off him. Christopher up at the fifth position then. Looking to get up into fourth, but they're side by side for the race lead. Down the back straight they go. Up the hill towards the chicane. Osborne on the outside once again. Dean Smith could get this position back here. They're going to make contact, going very sideways. Both of them. And Osborne gets in front. So they'll have 5 laps to go this time by. Incredible stuff here up in the front with these three. Bennyworth now looking to try and make up a position, get back up into second. Top 3 separated by only 1 second here, and Osborne. The pressure from Dean Smith too. Christopher has got up into 4th position there ahead of Steve Burton. So there might have been trouble. A little bit further back, looks like Aaron Daly and Ed Feast coming together potentially. To the final chicane. They go now, and all around is Osborne. Osborne is around. Getting it wrong in the chicane. Down into 3rd position he goes. John Dean Smith inherits the race lead. Bennyworth close on his heels. A little bit deep through there, and he's almost lost it. He has. Just about holds on to it, but Bennyworth now right out in front. He's got a 2-second advantage with 3.5 laps to go. The rain picking up a little bit, perhaps, as a lot of the drivers starting to get caught out by it. We'll look back to 2nd and 3rd. All sorts of loose is Osborne. Just trying to keep a hold of the thing. Let's do the right hand and they'll go. Big commitment there, and almost pulling up alongside up the hill in the slipstream. Looks to the outside once again. They're going to go side by side again into the braking zone. He's loose again. They're both loose. They're both going wide, and Osborne's going to get the better deal out of that one. I don't think there was contact. Both drivers just getting it wrong slightly on the brakes into the chicane, and Osborne up into 2nd position, but now 3.5 seconds, now 4 seconds behind Bennyworth, who is out in front comfortably. And here's Adam Christopher up at the 3rd as well, because John Dean Smith, he's not having a good time of it through turn 1, around again. And he's going to have a couple cars for company as Steve Burton in 5th position starts to close in. Very loose there for the drivers. A lot of drivers starting to struggle here, so maybe the tyres are wearing a bit. These wet tyres not helping the drivers out a whole lot. Steve Burton, Dan Hyde and Max Spooner in this train. As here is Max Spooner looking to get up into 6th position. A yellow flag in sector 1. I can't quite see who that is causing that. But Spooner can get on the grass, gets a bit loose, tightens it back up again. But Hyde, he's not got the best exit. You're right on board with Max Spooner now. You can see he's just about poking his nose up alongside. He'll back out of it though. Into turn 1. Really close stuff between these drivers though. One man that's absolutely flying out here, pole position man, Adam Christopher, who currently is making his way through the first sector, trying to close the gap on Guy Osborne. He'll have 1.5 laps, 1 lap after the one he's currently on, to try and get up into 2nd place. But at the moment, it looks like Ben Bennyworth 4 seconds ahead. He is cruising. Just needs to take it across the line. Not make any mistakes. As we've seen, that's easier said than done for the drivers out there. Looks very treacherous. Back again with Dan Hyde and Max Spooner. As the leader has started the final lap of this race. See just how slow they're having to go with this part of the circuit. Just to keep on going in a straight line. It's John Dean Smith. Misses out on 4th position. He drops down to 5th. He's got around at turn 3. Now he's got Dan Hyde and Max Spooner for company as well. He may well be able to get back up into 4th though. He's been showing good pace so far. But we'll cast our eyes up towards the front. As through the final corner, he will go on lap number 14 of 14 here. Race number 1 of round 3 of the championship at Thruxton. And it will be Ben Bennyworth taking the victory here. After a fantastic battle between the top 3. Guy Osborne will cross the line in 2nd. And Christopher settles for 3rd. A great comeback drive for him. But here, a battle. Dan Hyde, Max Spooner into the final corner. This is for 6th and 7th position. And Hyde's going to hold on to this one out of the traction zone. Who's going to get the better run? Spooner looks left, he looks right, but he's not going to make it past. And Dan Hyde just holds on to 6th position there. Spooner in at 7th. As a couple of drivers further back having some issues. Anthony Burton across the line and doing so sideways. Kevin Sturch crossing the line in 9th. Take a look back at Patrick Horrocks in 10th position. And the final corner. goes, then finishes as the final driver in the top 10. Michael Tillett through the final corner now. Crosses the line in 11th. And here comes Dan McCallum as well. Second evening for Dan. And not quite gone to plan. Good qualifying from him. I have to set up for 12th position in the race. Ed Feast back in the series after Donington in round 1. Will finish 13th. And Aaron Daly, I believe, has already crossed the line. A lap down in 14th position. As we just rated for the top 3, they're going to be having a couple of interviews after this first rate. That will be with our race director, Grant Lyman. And he'll be making his way down to the podium in just a minute. And then we will be right back with the second race just a little bit later.
And a very thrilling, a very wet race, one of the Alpines at Thruxton. We are joined here with our third place driver, Adam Christopher. Adam, I don't want to rub it in too much, but let's avoid the obvious question. Let's talk more about the comeback, because that was a comeback.
I mean, yeah, we have to. To come past and then just see what I'm up to. I think third flat, to be honest. I think beautiful. Because that's it. I'm happy to get back up to third, but that was totally my fault. Yeah.
95% of the whole grid had a moment in the race where they were off track or spinning around. I think the only driver that I saw that kept all four on circuit at all times was Bennyworth, but he had a few moments where he lost the rear end as well. So lots and lots of moments, but lucky obviously for yourself. Maybe in a way it was better for it to happen on the first lap while everyone's together so you can catch up to everybody again. How were the rear tyres after that though? Because from what we've seen in testing, once you spin the rear wets of these cars, they're pretty hard to then keep maintained.
I mean, it wasn't only that, it was a left front as well. So, I mean, I think it was the last lap I was up on my best. But going through Church, just the understeer lost me about half a second. So, yeah, the rears would go off. I mean, got the fast lap of the race, which was good to try and come back through as well. But, yeah, just got to focus on the reverse grid now. See if we can sort of turn that through, see how quickly we can get through the pack.
Well, obviously, having a nice bit of experience of getting through that pack, the claim pack, should help you quite a lot. But, yeah, really good job. I mean, it's not going to affect your championship too much coming third, so keep on going.
Cheers. Thank you, mate.
Okay, if we can have Mr. How's what didn't happen in that battle?
Well, that was very chaotic. Quite annoyed that I spun out that bit. I could have actually won this, but lack of talent.
I think pretty much the whole grid spun at some point, so I don't think you've got that much to beat yourself up about. Like, everyone was spinning, so I wouldn't be too angry. I mean, P2 is still obviously really good. Some really good battles there as well. Some really clean racing between the top three throughout the whole race, which was really cool to see. Just all about keeping it calm on track, I guess.
Yeah, it is, but on the first lap I got around the outside and I just felt cool, but I just started to get quite stressed because I could see Benny coming back behind. I just lost it.
Looking forward to race 2, or
Definitely.
got any plans for the reverse grid, or are you just going to try and follow maybe Adam through? Because considering in the first race he obviously had to do just that to get into third.
Yeah, I'm going to follow Adam through and see if I can attack him.
Fair play, awesome. Well, good luck for race number 2. And then if we bring in our race winner, Bennyworth. Ben, that was there. it was anyone's game like halfway through that race. And but once you got the lead at the end there, you then pulled that nice gap and just kept it on the grey stuff.
Yeah, no, that was definitely one of the hardest races I've won. After managed, had the lead and got the lead back. John Dean Smith came into it. Just up to start the first chicane, and then pretty much as soon as he went wide, that was pretty much up the inside, and that was it. Never looked back.
Considering the conditions, the racecraft in that race between you three was absolutely spot on throughout the race. Obviously, I would assume when you saw that Christopher had gone off at the chicane, you probably thought in your head, this is the perfect time to maximise and try and get maximum points. Little frustrating that he came third?
No, because I know what Adam Christopher can do in one of these cars. And it's at some sort, but like you said, the mistake going into the first chicane. Really.
Well, good luck for the reverse grid race. Obviously, you have the worst position for that. However, we've seen that pretty much everyone had a spin in that race. I mean, you got even yourself had a bit of a moment at the final chicane. You had a moment on the back part of the circuit as well. Very hard to just keep that concentration throughout.
Well, as long as I don't do what I did in the last rounds on the second race, rolling over, I'll take it.
Awesome. Well, thank you to our winner, Ben Bennyworth, winning race number 1 today. Really good for his championship. Just because we're still waiting some of the stewards' inquiry to go through, we'll try and get a few more people over. So let's have a look and see. I'm going to be going radio mode for this because I can't be followed with the camera. So if you just bear with me, and I'm going to try and find a driver, and I'm going to stay live on the comms while I'm doing this. So hopefully they all stay on their best behaviour in regards to the language that they're speaking in. Mr. John Dean Smith, we've got some time. Would you like an interview, sir? Do you want to come over so it's not so much radio style? There we go. Come on over. So John Dean Smith, and he's obviously having to put the cap on as well for maximum branding. Quite an interesting debut race, it must be said.
Yeah, it was going quite well to begin with. Quite happy with myself, being able to keep myself out of trouble on the first few corners, and then just kept pretty much just outbraked myself a little bit over defending into the last complex, trying to keep onto the lead and cook my rear tyres. So for my rear end was the least. Yeah, as I know, something over my shoulder currently is being discussed about issues on the first corner. And I'd sort of.
I don't think there was much more you could have done there. We'll see. I'll be a bit shocked if anything comes of that. I hope not. But I know I shouldn't be biased or anything, but from my point of view, that was just a racing incident. But okay, fine. We'll see what comes of it, what may. We'll keep you updated. Well, Dane will keep you updated because he's making, and then he'll be commentating later on. But yeah, it was a very interesting race. I don't think anyone got through the race without spinning once.
Yeah, no. Veterans out there, was quite hard to keep check of, especially on the brakes.
Do have to bring up, and you probably know the moment I'm going to bring up, when you were side by side with Osborne, and the rear end stepped out. Nervous?
Oh, just a smidge. I felt the back end start to go and went, this could be a problem. This could really be a problem. It's me. Unfortunately, he did really, really well to keep himself out of the way. And we managed to both successfully make it through the last chicane, which I wasn't really expecting. As of when I felt the back end start to step out, I thought the pair of us would be start-finish straight together.
Yeah, we thought it was really good car control from the both of you to really not cause the most embarrassing incident in the world. But it was very cool. I imagine that you were probably quite surprised to find yourself in the lead of the race in your debut.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting that. I was quite happy to qualify in fourth on my debut anyway. And then I sort of just sat back and let the guys fight out in front of them and watched them make. As of when I got the opportunity, the pair of them made a bit of a mistake into the last chicane. I wasn't really expecting. I'm quite disappointed that I did lose positions back again. But it is what it is. It's quite a difficult track to drive. The car isn't particularly happy in the wet on this track either. But it is what it is, and I'm quite happy where I finished. It's been an interesting race one.
Well, reverse grid coming up. Finishing P5, if I remember correctly, in race 1. So that's going to give you a bit of an advantage on your main competitors from race 1. So is the plan to just try and get through the pack as quickly as possible, or are you going to try and take your time a little bit?
I'm probably going to try and take my time a little bit. Carnage. Avoid being taken out or having any major issues into the first few corners, and then just settle back into a rhythm, try and keep the back end in check, not overheat the rear, and work our way through.
Thank you to John for joining us in this little stopgap. I can still see Dane is still going through some things, so we will try and grab someone else. I tell you what, let's bring in Callum Cripps. Let's make this a preview show for the touring cars, because why not? So, hello, Callum. How are you? Now, you've obviously not seen any of this race. You're seeing some of the incidents in this race, but unfortunately, it's going to be a lot drier for you guys.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit disappointing, really. I like racing in the wet. It's quite good fun, especially on the sims. So I haven't actually driven the new tyre model or track model or anything I have to in the wet, so I've no idea. But I'm sure slidey's fast. So yeah, but yeah, it looked like quite an interesting race. Looking back at some of the guys' manoeuvres. So yeah, it's good fun.
The Thruxton curse has already struck the championship leader. I don't know if you've seen the championship leader, lap 1, turn 2, straight off the track. Spun it. But he made his way back up to 3rd, so still recovered, because pretty much everyone else spun in that race. But still, a little bit looming on there, because there's that history here. There's always something that happens to the championship leader here. It's not superstitious, or are you just going to take it as it comes?
I don't care. It's flat for most of it. It's just 2 braking zones, isn't it? So it'll be all right. I've never driven. We'll see how that goes. I'm hoping that tyres are still going to be. Tyres are basically my favourite this year for rear-wheel drive. Like, it's obvious, but there's a few others on rear-wheel drive as well that are still behind the front-wheel drive. But yeah, it's a shame we can't race in the wet, but still, Thruxton. It's going to be good.
I think you're the only rear-wheel drive entry today. I believe, yeah. Nathan's not here, unfortunately. He decided that Warwick Castle would be more interested in the touring car racing. Yeah, I know. There is dungeons, yeah. Hit or miss, though. It is raining, though. It's like, it's warm in here. Yeah, not judging you, Nathan, just talking about you. And Martin Buchan, probably more embarrassingly, forgot that he was in Switzerland today. And so he knew that today's date was the race day. It completely went over his head that he was going to be in Switzerland. So you've lost 2 of your Infinity friends, unfortunately.
So I'll be carrying the flag a bit, right? It's it is a shame, but it's, looking at the Alpines, they look so much fun. Obviously, they're really quite low and stiff, so they're probably harder to drive than touring cars. So I'm looking forward to a nice, soft, slidey boat. Let's see what we can.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to seeing the touring action later on today. It looks like Dane is wrapping things up at stewarding, or not. No, someone is now talking to him again. So let's just quick time with, who shall we fill some time with? Who have we got that is around? We're going radio mode. We're going to go radio mode, and it's going to be very, very dangerous because people might be saying things. Let's interrupt this conversation because it appears that Dane is still doing stewarding things. So just doing a bit of gap filling, really. So shall we do a joint interview, or are you too shy, either of you? Yeah? Lovely. Do you want to come on camera, or shall we do this radio style? On camera. Lovely. Right, come on over. Try not to be blinded by the ring light. Oh, we've only got one of you now. That's, I'm sure. Well, so So Dan, yeah, a bit of a hectic race for everybody there.
Yeah, lots going on. Car's more like dancing on ice than driving a race car, but we work around it. We get the clean laps in. If you keep it on the track, you're going to finish.
Good strategy. Pretty good strategy. I mean, you one of the few drivers that didn't really have any dramas that I saw. To be fair,
A little bit, couple of bits of side-by-side action. Aaron made a massive lunge on lap 2, but then spun himself out, so got the position back. I mean, if you're pushing too hard, you're going to make mistakes.
of course, yeah. But I think that it was a relatively decent race in terms of the racecraft itself. There was obviously a little bit of argy-bargy here and there, but considering wet conditions, I thought it all went quite well. So let's bring Cami in as well, because she's very nervously hanging off to the side. Oh, now Dan's going to run away, isn't he? No, he's staying there. Good. Right, so Cami, so debut in the Alpine Cup Series, P9, if I remember correctly. After practice and qualifying, happy with that?
Yeah, pretty pleased with that. I've never driven Thruxton before, so I had to learn the track in the wet in practice. I've only so just to keep it on track, get it to the end. I was really pretty happy.
Fair enough. Yeah, really good drive. Really consistent drive as well. A lot of other people run into trouble.
No spins from me. No, kept it clean. I had a few hairy moments, but
One of the only drivers who didn't spin it, so you can definitely hold your head up high on that, because all of our top 3 spun. Our driver that was competing in P3 spun to 5th place. There was a lot of spins, basically, is what I'm saying here. But no, to learn Thruxton for the first time while it was wet, that must have been that's not the nicest way to learn a circuit.
no, absolutely not. I just, whenever I saw one of the faster people who had been spun round, I just let them go past me. And if I saw a bright green, blue, purpley car, I tried to keep it behind me.
I still can see Dane still deliberating on things, so we will continue to fill the gap. Aaron's looking a little bit. Oh, you've been spoken to. Aaron, are you being spoken to by the stewards? You are now. Okay, fair enough. Sorry, I was going to bring you in as well, but you're done. You're done. Fantastic. Dane has finished his job, which is brilliant. Which means we can get to number 2 really, really shortly. So stay tuned. Thank you for bearing with us. Time as well. Great show. Done that before, which is really cool. But yeah, looking forward to the rest of the day's action. Good luck in race 2, reverse grid. So you're going to be starting quite high up on the grid there.
Yeah, as long as we get through the first few corners, I'll maybe make it a bit easier for some of the faster people. Let Dan go by, and then try and
Fair enough. Good teamwork there. You found a new teammate.
Yeah, it really helped having someone behind trying to stop people getting past you.
Does it help them as well? There's no chance of you hiding them.
Oh, definitely.
Awesome. And we will sign off with that. And Dane is making his way back to the broadcast room. So I'm going to cut off here. And we're going to go into race 2 very shortly.
Well, welcome back everybody to the Simply Race British Championships. We are here for race number 2, this time in the Alpines for round 3 at Thruxton. It is still raining. I think the rain has actually got heavier, so the drivers are going to have a tough time out there for a second 14 lap race. We've reversed the grid from the results from race number 1. Let's take a look at the grid now. It will pop up on the screen. It is Aaron Daly that will be starting on pole position for Quatermass Motorsport. Ed Feast just alongside, those two coming together in race 1, so we'll see how they go at the start of the race here. Dan McCallum in 3rd, and then Michael Tillett lining up in 4th. Patrick Horrocks once again starts in 5th with Cammy Sturch alongside Anthony Burton and Max Spooner rounding out your 4th row of the grid. Then we've got Dan Hyde and John Dean Smith, both of them possibly making their way through the field and competing for a podium in this reverse grid race. And then just behind them, Steve Burton and Adam Christopher. Christopher pole position in race 1. They'll obviously have that off at the beginning, but did do a good job. And nice recovery drive up into 3rd, starts 3rd last in 12th. And then top 2 from race number 1 will be starting on the last row of the grid, Guy Osborne and Ben Pennyworth. As the drivers line themselves up on the grid then. There's a couple drivers nearer to the back. Get themselves into place. And we will get ready to go for the second race here today. We had a mostly clean start in race number 1. Will we have the same here in race 2? Let's find out. And we are green. As they'll make their way through the first corner, 3 wide in the midfield. But it's a good start from Aaron Daly. As they all make their way cleanly through the first corner, now into the first heavy braking zone. Oh, it's a big lock-up from the 13. Anthony Burton goes deep, a little bit of contact, and all around goes Dan McCallum. A base of action taken by the field. No one else goes into him. But still chaos happening as they all try and dig themselves out. Guy Osborne from the back row of the grid up into P6 after all this. He's looking for 5th position now at the inside until he goes and he backs out of that one. They're still trying to sort themselves out and all. A bit loose there, Steve Burton just behind. They go side by side. And Osborne back up into 5th position now. A great start for the driver of that number 64 machine. Trying to make up another position here as well. He's going to go up the inside of Patrick Horrocks. This was his favourite move in race number 1. Down the inside into the chicane. Looks like Horrocks might be a little bit deep into the chicane. Off he goes. And Osborne's going to make his way through. And there's Ed Feast off as well. Osborne's going to gain a position there too. He might even be able to get all the way up into 2nd position here as Anthony Burton hasn't had the best line out of the chicane. Through turn 1 they go. And Osborne from the back row of the grid at the end of lap 1, he's up into 3rd position. So a fantastic start of the race for Guy Osborne. And unlike race 1, I actually have someone alongside me in the commentary booth as Burton goes wide. He's going to rejoin just behind Osborne. So Osborne now up into 2nd. 3 seconds of a gap to Aaron Daly up in front. But I've got Callum Cripps alongside me, leader in the Touring Car Championship that we'll be seeing later on. He's here nice and early. What do you think about what you've seen on the opening lap? Does it maybe make you a bit nervous for what you've got coming up a bit later on?
Yeah, look, I'm surprised how well these guys are doing actually. These Alpines are so difficult to drive in the wet. As you can see, he's fighting the car as he comes through Church. But Guy Osborne, yeah, done a great job in that car on the way all the way from the back of the grid. So now he's going to go and try and chase after Alan Daly in the lead. But yeah, it's really looking very, very sketchy out there.
Yeah, looking very similar to what we saw near the end of the first race, which makes me a bit nervous for the final 3-4 laps or so, because as we saw in race 1, it just kept getting progressively worse and worse. It may well dry up, but it doesn't really look like it's going to be doing that anytime soon. So we'll have a look. It's all off in the background. Looks like one of the drivers going off. It's Tillett. Has gone around and taken some ad boards with him as well, taking away the Thrustmaster boards. They look to be stuck on the front of his car. We've seen that a couple times out in the real world. It doesn't quite look like that though. It's wedged itself in the front grille and he's going to have a bit of extra drag. He's sort of dragging it along the floor now. This is, oh, it looks like he's finally got rid of them off on the main straight to get picked up by someone else. Says, oh, it looks like we may have had a bit of contact out in front. Aaron Daly dropping down the order. Guy Osborne inherits the lead. Was there contact, or was it entirely on his own? I think it may have been on his own, because yeah, there was a 3-second gap between them. I don't think Osborne, as quick as he's been today, had the pace to catch up 3 seconds in one lap. So Aaron, unfortunately, down to 4th position for him now. He's got race 1 winner, Ben Pennyworth, just in front. He's got Adam Christopher, pole position for race 1, up alongside him on the inside, as they make their way now down into the right-hander. And Christopher's going to make that move stick. Oh, a little bit of contact. Daly's off onto the grass, and he will not be happy about that one. Christopher up into 4th position there, as they make their way towards the end of lap number 3. Osborne through the final corner. He's got a massive lead. Anthony Burton in 2nd. He's going to be under pressure from Ben as they make their way onto lap 4 now.
Yeah, it's Ben's done a great job actually from the back of the grid as well to stay through the pack, and also Adam Christopher as well. I don't think he had the start that he really wanted to there. Pennyworth's got ahead of him, so yeah, interesting to see how these two pan out for the rest of the race. Guy Osborne has stretched the gap out to 4 seconds now over Ben Pennyworth out in front, so he's nice and clear now, but he'll be hoping to not do what Aaron Daly did and spin it just coming out of this section here just 1 lap ago. So as we see Anthony Burton now sliding his way out of the complex and then onto the back section of the circuit. He's got Adam Christopher now right on his tail in the 28 car, and they'll be going through this left-hander here, just feathering the throttle. We can see from another screen inside our commentary booth here of Adam Christopher's onboard, and the cars they just look absolutely on ice through this section, and Christopher's got to run up the inside of Burton, and he'll take that 3rd place away from him. So as they move then and swap positions through Church, and they'll be on the brakes, dropping down to, just keeping it in 5th gear, feathering the throttle through there. And Christopher, he's giving it everything, to be fair, to catch up to Ben Pennyworth now all over the curb on the exit of Church, and now they'll be going down the back straight up towards 140 miles an hour before hitting the brakes into the chicane to complete lap number 4. And a bit further back we've got Max Spooner there just passing Patrick Horrocks into the same place as well, so into the chicane, and nicely done. Let's hope Max can get it stopped. He's sideways, can he keep on the road? Not quite. Well, and Patrick decided he didn't really want to take the corner either, so hops across the track, and we'll let Dane deal with that one after the race, I think, because whether he wants to or not. That was a bit of a opportunistic break from Max Spooner there going into the chicane, but I suppose he kind of made it stick before the corner. So whether, I suppose it's down to Patrick Horrocks' discretion where he wants that place back or not. But so Aaron Daly then, after his spin out in front, now back into 5th and chasing after Anthony Burton. Now Anthony looks like he's struggling quite a bit at this phase in the race, and is getting caught up pretty quickly by Aaron Daly. And then a bit further back we've got Edward Feast, with Dan Hyde. So Dan Hyde as well on the outside this time, going to go through the right-hander, the back of the circuit, both in 5th gear, side by side. Dan's going to try it all around the outside. Is he going to make that stick? Oh, probably not. And Edward just holds onto it for the meantime, as the rain lights flash away into the distance, into the spray as they come through Church now. Past the marshal post, he's very sideways. Can he get? Oh, he just holds on to it. Great driving from Edge there to save it. We've got another yellow in sector 3 somewhere. We're not sure if that's further up or further down in this sector, but it's Osborne, and he has gone off from 3rd place. So he was leading actually, wasn't he? So he's gone off from the lead, and Ben Pennyworth has now inherited that lead, but it's going to be taken away pretty quickly by Adam Christopher now, who tries to go around the outside of him into turn 2. Let's see if he can send one up the inside. Actually, the switch places, so Pennyworth defending the inside then into turn 3. And they all look pretty line astern for now, still using the curbs as they head out towards the back section of the circuit now. So Christopher crossing up all the way through these corners. These cars look so tricky. I'm kind of glad that we're not racing in the wet now in the touring cars later on today. It looks like the puddle I went through on the M1 trying to get here today. So let's see how Pennyworth can fend off Adam Christopher this time. Christopher will be fired up after his mistake in race 1. So let's see, these cars are just dancing, absolutely dancing over the puddles coming through, and towards Church here we go, and Bennyworth and Christopher absolutely side by side. Who's going to give an inch here? Is Bennyworth on the brakes, Christopher up the inside, and he seems to make that move stick. Christopher just seems to have a lot more confidence in these conditions, but Bennyworth has got the better exit coming out of Church, and let's see up the hill if he can try and mount another attack on Christopher, but it might be job done, as now Osborne back in the mix. So Osborne, out of nowhere after his spin one lap ago, is now back into second. So he had a great run through the back section of the circuit, and Bennyworth then down to third. He must have thought when Osborne went off that the win was absolutely certain for him on lap 6, at the start of lap 6, but obviously not. So Christopher back into the lead then, Osborne second and Bennyworth third, but Osborne looks now to have a bit of pace in him, and after sliding a bit wide through turn 1 there, to be fair. But let's see if he can mount an attack on Adam Christopher as they go on to lap 7, so halfway through this race. These Alpines look incredibly stiff, actually sparking as he goes over the curbs, Guy Osborne, into turn 3 there. So these cars are so low and so stiff that it's very, very difficult to get the power down. There's no body roll at all. It'll be great around Paul Ricard or somewhere flat, Silverstone, but go to Knockhill and these cars will be upside down, I reckon, as they come through the back section of the circuit. So Guy Osborne not able to keep with Adam Christopher at the moment, even though their middle sectors were about 6 tenths apart. Adam Christopher pulled out there, so let's see if he can maintain that lead. A bit further back we've got Cami Sturch down in 8th place with Patrick Horrocks just behind her. It's nice to see Cami competing in this one in the Circuit Superstars car. Around the back section of the circuit they go. The cars just ahead of them are Max Spooner and Dan Hyde. So those guys, we've got 6th to 9th place, all sharing a relatively small part of the circuit now as they come through Church. Very, very sideways, just hanging on to it. Car in the background going off, that's Patrick Horrocks. Just going onto the grass, manages to continue. Might find there's actually a bit more grip out there than on the tarmac today. It looks that slippy. Up to the braking zone they go. Let's see if everybody can get through the chicane nice and cleanly. Everybody seems to be quite settling down a tiny bit during this race. There's a few gaps beginning to appear. Just so I say that, there's a car off. Who's that? That's Cami, unfortunately, Cami Sturch, who was in 8th place, just now gone down to 9th. So Patrick has taken that position away from her. She must have curse to the commentator there. Just she was coming through the back section of the circuit. We got another car going off as well. Edward Feast as well into the barriers, and unfortunately going down a number of places, down to 12th now. And he's got the barrier that I think was taken by another car earlier on as well. So yeah, unfortunately, so we'll have to someone will have to do a shedding and get that barrier picked up. Anthony Burton as well further back, who started out quite high up, but unfortunately has made his way to the back of the grid. So Cami then, she'll be looking to make amends for that mistake earlier on and get past Patrick Horrocks once again as they go on to lap, I think this is lap number 9 now, as there's a yellow in sector 1, I'm not sure that's 4th, lap 8, sorry. As the gap between the top two has stayed pretty static, around 1 second for the meantime, with Bennyworth 1 second back from them, well 2 seconds back now from them again. So it's all starting to spread out a tiny bit at the front, so we'll concentrate on this battle then for 8th place between Patrick Horrocks and Cami Sturch as they come through Church, nice and slidey. And they'll be flat out all the way up to the chicane. Adam Christopher starting to stretch his legs now out in front, a new fastest lap of the race, a 1:29.3. So onto the brakes, these two go then into the chicane. Let's see if Cami can just misses out on the curb there, but to be fair, you don't really be wanting to touch these curbs too much in these conditions. They'll be absolutely lethal. So then there's a bit of a battle further up, the 6th place now between Max Spooner and Dan Hyde. Dan putting the pressure on Max Spooner, just coming up to the first chicane now. We'll have to skip a few cars forward to see that, I think. Here we are. So here's Max Spooner then riding the curb through turn 4, and there's another yellow in turn, I'm not quite sure what corner it is, I think potentially a bit further back. But, oh no, who's that? That's Guy Osborne, I think, again, potentially going off there. We'll have to have see if we can have another look at that. But the yellow car in the background just having a moment, and it was Guy Osborne gone down to 7th place, so we'll try and get a replay of that. And Dane's doing his magic now on the keyboard, doing his best DJ impressions to try and get some replay for us. But he's very, very angry with himself. We can actually hear him and how frustrated he is in the pods in the background. So here he is then. Was this the replay? It's going wide. Oh no, that's just him going wide again, actually, out of church. So I think it's got to his head a tiny bit. He might get a bit frustrated, but we'll just see what happened to him a lap ago. So Christopher still leads them. Benny Wolf second, Steve Burton third, Aaron Daly fourth now, with Max Spooner in fifth. So Max has been making his way up the grid. We got Dan Hyde as well, who had a bit of a spin just coming out of the last chicane as well. So he's going to be dropping down some places. That promotes Patrick Horrocks up to 7th and Cammy Sturch up to 8th. So Dan all the way down to 9th, just ahead of John Dean Smith now, who we haven't really mentioned in this race so far. He's been hovering around 10th and 11th place. But yeah, so a bit of a nightmare then for Dan Hyde and for Guy Osborne. So Guy will be looking to get back into a strong position before the end of this race. Not a lot of laps to do it now, though, only 4 laps to go. And Christopher extending his lead to 4 seconds now out in front. And then to the next car after Bennyworth is Steve Burton. So we're just going to have a look at what happened to Guy Osborne here. So he's coming out of turn 4. We're just looking on a replay on another camera, and then I just out of turn 5, just going onto the back section of the circuit, just gets a switch on and doesn't seem to get off the power, and then just the car just travels really far. It must be 30 meters inside of the infield of the track. You nearly get hit by an airplane probably trying to take off there. So unfortunately, and then spins as well, trying to get back onto the track again. So that's 2 spins really on the grass, and he's just spun again coming out of church on lap 11, so he's going to go down even further. So Guy Osborne into the barriers as well. He's going to be really furious with himself after this race. I think there's 3 major mistakes in 2 laps, unfortunately. So let's hope he can get going then and try and salvage something from this race. But he's going to be royally disappointed with himself. He just gets on the curb. You see how slippy it is, and then the car just swap ends. And when the mid-engined Alpines get a slide on, it's very, very difficult to get it back again. So he's trying to now even get into the top 10 is Guy Osborne, just ahead of him is Edward Feast. So really, really, really unfortunate for Guy Osborne. As we switched, we'll try and Cammy Sturch is very close to Patrick Horrocks again. These two have been pretty much glued to each other all race. They've been having a great battle between them, worked their way up towards the top 5, thanks to others' errors. So Cammy then, let's see if she can try and break into that top 5 and dispatch of Patrick Horrocks just ahead of her in the grey car, and then Dan Hyde just behind as well. He'll be looking to try and make progress on both of these two as well. As Patrick goes slightly wide through turn 4, though it doesn't really seem to affect him that much. As Cammy closes in now, the gap's around 6/10 to each other. She'll be getting rid of the spray on that windscreen of the Alpine as they come through this section of the circuit towards church. Be doing about 120 miles an hour and slowing themselves down. Luckily no puddles about, but still very, very sketchy. You can see the cars just wallowing about and just skating on the surface of the track, trying to find some grip at all as they get towards 6th gear and 130, 140 miles an hour now as they get onto the brakes once again for the 12th time, or 11th time for these guys. They're yet to complete the lap. So there's very quick. There's Patrick just loses the car, and then Dan as well loses the car behind him. So Dan and Patrick now squabbling over that 6th and 7th place. Cammy has managed to break away into 5th. A great last few laps from her, and done really, really well to dispatch of Patrick and Dan. So Patrick then having a mistake just out of that last chicane there. And Dan's trying to mount an attack back on the inside. Can he get it stopped? Yep, meets the apex nicely as Patrick goes wide, and Dan's able to claim that 6th position as well. So he'll be quite happy that he's managed to get that position so close to the end of the race. Let's see if he can hold on to it. So Adam Christopher out front, still 5 seconds ahead of Ben Bennyworth and Steve Burton. It's been quite an action-packed race. Everybody's been trying to. Obviously, the racing's been very clean. It's just mainly been people just having incidents on their own day.
Yeah, it definitely has, and it's very similar to what we saw in race 1. Not too many incidents involving multiple drivers, mostly just drivers having their own issues in the wet. It's as we've seen on the onboards that we've been getting up on the screen. really difficult for the drivers to just keep it going in a straight line, let alone through some of the pretty tricky corners here that you've got at Thruxton. So yeah, most of the drivers just unfortunately having their own issues, but that doesn't mean we haven't had too much contact. So yeah, hopefully the drivers will still be fairly happy with how their event has gone. But let's look out in front. Adam Christopher, we'll see if we can see behind Ben Bennyworth at any point around this penultimate lap that he's on at the moment. Very sideways for the 28 there. He just about holds on to it. That's pretty much what we've been seeing from himself, Bennyworth, and Osborne as well. Just most of the time they're going through the corners completely sideways, really trusting in themselves that they're not going to throw it around again. Nice and slidey through the right hander. You can see just in the background of the shot, Bennyworth making it through about 5-6 seconds behind, but Christopher now coming through the final couple of corners. He's going to make his way onto the final lap of the race as the teammates here, Hyde and Sturch. Hyde just getting ahead of Cammy Sturch there at the moment, and we look a little bit further up the road from them. We've got Max Spooner in fourth and Steve Burton in third. Spooner trying to get up into that podium position, but looks like he ran a little bit deep there, had to slow down a bit more than he would have liked. And final battle that's going on the circuit on this penultimate lap for these drivers. They're still on lap 13, of course. Aaron Daly and Ed Feast in 10th and 11th. Your front row on the grid, of course, remember. We'll look back at the teammates here, and it looks like a yellow flag in sector 2. Try and see who that might have been. Tillett. It's Tillett off the circuit, down to 13th. Now he's just got overtaken by Dan McCallum. And now he's getting overtaken again by Guy Osborne. So Osborne getting back up a couple of positions. Every point is going to help him. But with his main championship rivals of Bennyworth and Christopher up in front, well, it's not doing a great deal of good towards his championship hopes. Through an ultimate set of ones, I guess. The right-hander on back straight. Coming up towards the drivers right near the end, Tillett and Osborne, who we just switched away from. Not quite getting around to lap anybody, but into the final corner now he'll go. Didn't quite get the best first couple of laps. Osborne will take the spoils in that regard, but slowly but surely made his way through the field, and then he's just extended that gap constantly and consistently. Across the line then, Adam Christopher will take another win in this season. Didn't have the best of race ones, but got there in the end in race number 2. Back on the top step of the podium. Brilliant drive from the driver of the number 28. And Bennyworth crossed the line in second, and Steve Burton into the final couple of corners they will go. Max Spooner just behind. A little bit of pressure on the 14 now. He's slightly deep into the corner, but it's not going to matter, because he is going to get that third position across the line there. So we hear a bit of shouting in the background. There may have been some contact or potentially an incident involving Aaron Daly and Ed Feast. And now Ed Feast off again. Dan McCallum is up into 10th position. These are all still racing, remember, as we've only had the top 8 drivers potentially across the line. Here is the driver in 8th position, Patrick Horrocks. Slow out of the chicane, finishing in 8th position there. Anthony Burton is the next person across the line in 9th. And then it will be Dan McCallum. He's still got the final chicane to get through cleanly. Only 3 seconds to the driver behind, so a mistake here would put him out of the top 10. He does look to have done that very smoothly indeed. 10th position for Dan McCallum then in his second round in the Simply Race British Championships. Just behind him, Aaron Daly getting past Ed Feast at the end. Ed Feast having a couple of issues on this last lap, and Osborne's not quite going to be close enough to get up into 12th position. He'll have to settle for 13th. Not going to be the happiest driver out there, I'd imagine. A couple of errors out in the wet, but was looking really strong up there in front 3. Michael Tillett is going to finish in 14th. That rounds out the second race. We are going to head down towards the podium area in just a moment's time. We're going to try and have a chat with a couple of the drivers, potentially more than just the top 3, as we saw after race number 1. We'll see what the final race results are going to be in just a bit. We probably will have some steward inquiries made from some of the drivers. A couple of incidents there that maybe the drivers wouldn't have been too happy with. So we'll go to the provisional race results. And here you can see them on the screen now. Christopher out in front. Brilliant job from Adam there to take the victory here. Ben Bennyworth in second. Steve Burton in third. I believe it might be Steve Burton's first podium of his Simply Race British Championship career. So regardless, congrats to Steve for that third place. Spooner not quite making it onto the podium this time. Dan Hyde in fifth. Cammy Sturch, the two teammates there, in fifth and sixth. John Dean Smith in the Napa car in seventh. Patrick Horrocks just behind in eighth. Then Anthony Burton and Dan McCallum will round out your top 10. And 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, it's Aaron Daly, Ed Feast, Guy Osborne, and Michael Tillett. So we're going to go to a quick break and then we'll be back with the podium results.